Hello, my name is Hope from the platform of eSeniors.org. eSeniors is a non-for-profit organization that provides virtual companion for seniors from age 60 and above. Virtual companion services designed to support seniors emotionally and provide companion for seniors that feels lonely and isolated from their community. And we do this remotely through the usage of video chat technology to reach out to seniors. I want to especially welcome you all to today's book reading section. We have been reading a book from Alex Ageye titled Unexpected Joy at Dawn. We've done several chapters. Today we are going to be reading from where we stop. Listen as I read. The oil boom provided a big boost to the construction industry. Never in the life of the country had there been opportunities for people to become so rich so fast. The slum on the world market, however, was beginning to show the price of oil. The slum on the world market, however, was beginning to show. The price of oil has plunged down at an unprecedented rate. To spread the effect evenly among oil-producing countries, production targets were being set by OPEC, the Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Mama maintained a strong lobby among some of the country's politicians, and building contracts started coming her way again. She had 6 contracts lined up. The signposts in front of her headquarters read, Mama Sansi Group of Companies. Her prominence in the Ijesa area was owed to her being the first to build there, and her company had constructed more than half of the houses there too. Not long before, an oil refinery had been built just at the outskirts of Igecha suburb. Then 3 primary and 2 secondary schools were built, emphasizing the growing importance of Ijesi. Mama had got most of the contracts. Nippon Telecom had planned a rent-story office block at the center of Ijesi, but the contract went to another construction company. The sitting of many important companies in the northern suburb increased in vehicular traffic flowing to and through Ijesi. Half the road contracts got awarded to Mama's company. Mama had many contracts in other parts of Lagos. For a long while, she had only one building project in Ijesi. Her other contracts were spread throughout Lagos. She built half the junior staff quarters of Interlast at Lagos Island, and she had another contract to renovate a building at Yaba behind the Technology College. There was one project that was very dear to her, a confectionery that she was building in memory of her mother. The building and ovens would be completed within the week. Her supermarket at Martin Street earned her a large income. To build up sales, she employed only extremely beautiful and very well-educated ladies. The manager of the supermarket was a very attractive 30-year-old Belly. The shops grew fast and sprawled. It was well laid with few streets. Armed robbers made the residents stay away continually and keep watch. Ramps were put on the main Ijesa streets to trap the robbers as well as check the speed of vehicles playing the route. Mama's house was near the main Soba Street, number 4, Sabo Street, EJC. It was a big compound house that had a wall around it. Her own apartment was two-story building and was connected directly by the wall, such that the parts of the wall formed a concorum of unique fence from her section to the other two flats, which were also hers. A staircase led from the upper unfinished floor to the outside. The second floor was largely uncompleted, and the windows and the doors were yet to be fixed. The ground floor, where she lived, had a sitting room, 3 bedrooms, a bathhouse, and a kitchen. Opposite the story block was the older section of the property. This was divided into flats. They were rented quarters. From her door, Mama watched the slim lady cross the compound. A tin of sardine fell from the pack of waste and she carried. She watched the hawker return to pick up the fallen item. She was obviously exhausted after the missionary work at Ilere. Her immediate concern was her construction business. The foreman had reported that Dele Sand and Stone Limited had not delivered the sitting room and sat on the sofa, took a calculator and checked some figures in the estimate of the ongoing project. Thoughts of her desire to travel and preparation for the journey were consuming her. Let's move down to chapter 10. I think this number 9 chapter is like a repetition of a story we have already read. So we are moving forward to chapter 10. I read. Few people care about the office on the 6th floor of Baiman complex or even knew about them. A middle-aged man crossed the car park. Neil stopped to watch him go. He remembered the face. He was the middle-aged man he had sent a seat lane there near his room. He seemed to be in a great hurry and nearly collided with Linda as she appeared from the back corridor of the bank. He stopped and apologized to her before turning at the stair and was soon rushing towards the room upstairs. Linda stopped and watched him for a while, then she hurried up the stairs too. Dear Neil addressed Linda, you may join us for this gracious meal. Gracious meal, she shouted, and they both laughed. She bowed down and whispered to him, this evening, Neil, I will expect you. Oh, he said with a shake of his head. You give me up to the close of work to think about it. At about 10:30 a.m. in Lagos, Mama found the traffic irksome. The time was 10:30 a.m. and the airport was still a long way away. Her flight was for... I think there's a mix-up here. Sorry. They had disembarked. Mama was in a hurry. The man she had been on the plane with stopped and pointed to two men in white flowing gowns. Instead of going to them, she walked towards a wire mesh which fenced the cargo section of the airport. The mesh made an acute angle with the wall of the main airport building behind which she walked. She knelt down. When she was in a safe distance away from any praying eyes, and put her bag between her legs. She took out her Bible and carefully removed the title page, exposing some naira notes. She retrieved some notes in 20 naira denomination, put the Bible back into her bag, and hurried towards the two men she had been shown. She chose the one on the right. 1 naira is 40 cedis, the man said. She noticed that the man spoke Hausa, which suited her. The transaction was brief. The man counted 4,000 cedis and gave it to her in return for the 100 naira she gave him. Mama returned to her man. She paid for the ring. She smiled and she collected the ring. Come to the Nova Hotel room 8 tomorrow if you need any further help, he said. Where is Nova? She asked. The man laughed triumphantly. Oh, every taxi driver knows Nova Hotel, he said. She thanked him and turned towards the taxi rack. The folder containing the papers on ant-hill bricks, together with the brief dossier prepared by him, was on the table before the manager. You are Mr. Aaron Lashibi, Ant Hill's brick project, the manager said, looking at the man sitting in front of him. He struck the folder repeatedly but gently with his pen. Aaron responded immediately. Yes, sir. In that case, the manager said, clearing his throat, I am very sorry. Your application for a loan, well, after very careful consideration by the head office, was not approved. Management did not find your project particularly suitable for a loan. He stopped speaking but kept smiling at the customer as she pulled gently on the waistband of his trouser. He was smartly dressed in a white shirt and a blue pants of trousers and wore the bank necktie. He regarded the folder intently as if he were discovering it for a first time. He adjusted himself in the chair. Then he resumed his interview. I personally have an admiration for your efforts, and I think those who examine your application also share the same sentiment, he said. Aaron was following him. He cared little for the compliments of the manager, which meant nothing at all to him. He was quite certain about one thing: his application had been rejected. So, what was all that rigmarole about admiration and all the nonsense? Thank you for taking an interest in our bank, said the manager as he went with Aaron to the door and closed it, ending the interview. Neil shook his head as he saw Aaron emerge from the manager's office. Due to the economic slump, very few loan applications were able to meet the criteria set by the bank. The central bank had issued several directives in an attempt to curtail further slump in the economy and control inflation, which was already over 100%. Many of the leading economists in the country were suggesting devaluation of the cedis to the tune of 100%. Salary increase has been frozen, so had promotion in the government service. A committee set up by the government to look into the issue of employment had come up with a report which strongly supported a cut in the labor force at workplaces. Aaron met Neil as he was walking out of the banking hall. Your manager wouldn't even listen to me, he told Neil, confiding in the assistant manager that when he presented his proposal and plans at the ministry, some officials had expressed the hope that with a project like Ant Hill, the country was going to overcome the difficulty of providing cheap houses for workers. But when he went again, those same officials were less enthusiastic. They would not even see him, saying they were too busy. The principal secretary, private secretary, had been sent to tell him that the ministry highly appreciated his efforts in soil science and wished that Aaron had put up a few noble houses of assessment by experts of the ministry. Aaron informed Neil that indeed Ant Hill had a demonstration unit which had managed to put up one building for such an inspection. But though the ministry had been informed about its existence, no official had come to do an inspection or evaluation on the structure. The last thing that Aaron had heard about the matter had been a ministerial statement, and even that was a mere radio announcement that the ministry had nothing to do with the Ant Hill project. If I had some personal funds, said me, I would have helped you. But now Jay recommended the project and it's rejected. I am personally interested in your achievements. You know, few people were at the bank and Neil was virtually free. But I'll fight on, Aaron said. The way out does not lie in this country. It seems in this country we do not support heroes. We strangle them to die. Neil smiled. He liked Aaron and admired his efforts. He examined his strong features. Aaron was athletic. His determined voice and strong conviction in the viability of his project were convincing. He had no doubt that Aaron was serious about his project, but being helpless in the immediate pressing problem of finance, Neil became silent, half listening to Aaron, who was becoming philosophically in his speech. If he had his way, he thought he would not only support the heroes, but also praise them to the skies. Perhaps Aaron was right. The country was not ready for its creative thinkers, innovators, and innovators. Sorry. Aaron was right. The country was not ready for its creative thinkers, inventors, and innovators. That was why they felt the country is drove for other parts of the world, at least for the sustenance of body and soul, though they were branded unpatriotic. He looked at Aaron as he left his table. The door closed. Another young man was waiting behind the counter. He beckoned him to come. The taxi driver who took Mama was quite friendly. The sun was already high and its rays set the cars assembly at the car park alight. She looked behind her, trying to locate the statue that she knew used to be there, the Kotoka statue. She heaved a long sigh, steadied herself, and looked absently in the mirror in front of her. The high life song playing in the car mixed with her feelings and for some time occupied her completely. She thought about the time she used to be in Ghana. High life music had been a national menu in Ghana, but that was the distant past, and she could not remember how to do the gentle intricate steps of those days and tune. Neither could she readily recollect any voice or face. She could only savor the memories she cherished of so many other of those gone by times. She belonged to a new age and she was her own lady and sang her own song. She felt lonely. She tried to adapt herself in the new era and explore the new age. She relaxed and closed her eyes. The two women talking at the back of the taxi were complaining about their lost luggage at the Motona airport. Earlier, they had come to Accra on a West Coast flight which had been denied landing right at the Kotoka airport. Mama took the ring from her bag. She cried it on her small finger, but the ring was too she tried it on her little finger, but the ring was too big, so she tried the middle finger. The driver noticed it, steadied the car to be in line with the traffic in front, and turned to study the ring. Wow, what have you got there, sweetie? Just then, one of the front tires of the car fell into a hole and the vehicle shook violently. The driver grimaced and turned his full attention to the traffic once more. Damn, these potholes, he said. Mama lifted her forefinger. Then she spread her finger on her lap, admiring her ring. The vehicle was steady now, and the taxi driver looked sideways and captured the scene. That should be the handiwork of a very clever goldsmith, he said. I think so too, Mama said. Some goldsmiths are really clever, very, very clever, madam. He hummed along, the music playing while tapping the steering wheel softly. Mama smiled at the compliment. Quite a fine ring. It is all right, she said, still smiling. I got it by chance. It's interesting having this gem even before I set eyes on gold mine here. Indeed, he said, turning away from her. You are from Lagos? That's right, she said. And you speak Twa so well. Her smile blossomed into laughter and she still favored with her ring. You see, I spent most of my early years in Ghana, she said. Oh, I see, he said. He winked, obviously weighing and turning over in his mind what he wanted to say next. But she spoke. I left here after the law on alliance was passed by the last civilian government before the one just overthrown. The taxi driver tried to think out the arithmetic of civilian government and their overthrown. That's a long time ago, he said. Who gives a thought to it today, my sister? After a long pause, he added, it's happening in your country too. It's payback time. Just then, the other front tire of the taxi entered a pothole, jolting the car, and the driver cursed loud and long. Mama pressed the seat down and held onto it in that position to lessen the traffic of the shock of the bomb. She kept a steady gaze at the taxi driver. Another taxi driver whose car had hurst a tire was standing by his car and waved Mama's taxi to stop. Could you lend me your car, Jack? The other taxi driver asked. Mama taxi driver. He shook his head and smiled mischievously. Why don't you see your spare tire? He teased. Jackie, oh. The other responded, I beg, oh, my brother. No spare tire even. The traffic eased again. The taxi driver waved exhaustively as he edged his car forward, grinning. The short exchanges rekindled the camaraderie of the kind. Moments went by and a long distance and a long silence ensued. She looked through the windscreen and the driver spoke, not only to renew the conversation, but also to wipe away any displeasure the discussion with his friend might have generated in his car, and that might come between him and his client. What was I saying when the other taxi driver? Oh, yes, your gold ring. That's what we were talking about. Wasn't it? Wasn't it? Let me have a look. Your goldsmith must be very clever one. Must be a very clever one, he said as he took the ring that Mama offered to him between her thumb and forefinger. I love gold. It puts me in touch with my ancestors. I come from a long line of chiefs. I'm a royal, you know. Sorry, how silly of me. How could you know? My ancestors used gold for their symbols, so you will appreciate my attachment to gold. The one who sold it to me said it too, said Mama. Every African in a chief or a royal. It was a quick diversion, but it quickly elicited long laughter, engaging the other passenger who Hareton had remained unconcerned or passive. He kept his eyes on the traffic and the steering. The traffic had come to a virtual halt. The cassette recorder had stopped playing, so he removed the cassette and inserted another one. Abyssina, he exclaimed at last, and returned his ring to her. What's Abyssina? She asked. This is no real gold. You see, madam, I was a gold dealer too, so I know what's real gold. I was dealing with dagger, an illegal gold business, he said. It was a dangerous game, sister, the very daredevil. Sometime last year, the police arrested and severely tortured me, so I stopped. Now I drive my own car. I love it. You know, he paused. I love my job. No more torture like before, despite our little encounter with the police once in a while. That gentleman told me it was pure gold, she said. Her voice rose suddenly. He was with me on the plane and he made me buy. Mama was saddened by the realization that she had been cheated. The burden rather shifted heavily on the driver, as it now seems that it was he who brought about the exposure through her conversation and what he himself described his special knowledge about gold. His face was contorted as a result of the feeling of responsibility and he became apologetic. Do you have any police station here? She asked. We have one near the airport, but why? Take me to the airport police station. I have got to make a complaint. Please, can you go faster? The driver hesitated. The other passengers were full of sympathy and were most accommodating. They inquired to the diversion. The traffic was flowing once more. To a taxi driver, time is money. It was an uncomfortable moment, but he obliged. He allowed the traffic in front to move ahead. Then he turned the car about and headed for the police station. Nobody spoke in the car again. The police station was not far away. It was just about a minute drive. So I want to believe that you enjoyed the book reading section. Thank you so much for your active participation. Till we meet again in the next section. And bye.